There are a number of command line utilities on the A+ that deal with what I'm going to call working with drives, and I thought we could just knock them all out in one big shot. So all of these utilities I'm about to show you are command line, but they really do more specifically work with drives. So let's go ahead and get started with one of my favorites, Format. The Format command is designed to allow you to format drives from the command line. Now, you want to talk about really, really dangerous programs? This is a great example. By the way, don't even bother trying to run this unless you're running as an administrator. Windows will stop you cold. So let's go ahead and play with Format a little bit. Now you take a look, what I've got here is a thumb drive. And there's some stuff on it from way back and long ago. And what I want to do here is, I guess I could go out and delete it, but I'm actually going to format the drive. So let me close this. We'll take a look at our D drive one more time. So you can see that there is stuff on this USB drive that I want to wipe out with the format command. Now, to do that, it's pretty straightforward. You type format, and then you type in the drive letter of what you want to format. And really, that's all you got to do. So if I hit format right now, it's going to completely reformat the D drive. So one of the things I can do that actually speeds things up a little bit is I can throw in the /Q option, which is just a quick format. Are you sure? Yes. And take a look. And that guy is empty. So the format command is pretty powerful and allows you to quickly format any particular drive you want to format. Now, there's an old joke when people get people to a command line and they say, format C:. I want you to think about that for a minute. If you type format C:, and by golly, he will let you do it, what are you going to do? Yeah, you're going to wipe out your entire Windows boot system. And that's what we call in the industry a bad thing. So the format command is extremely powerful, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. Let me show you one more thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type format, but this time I'm going to put in the help, because there's one in particular I want you to see. Right here where it says /fs file system, you can specify the file system that you want to format it to. Now, in the Windows environment, we pretty much live in NTFS, so that's not that big of a deal. But a lot of times for removable media, it might be handy to specify a particular file system that particular device might need. So be aware that you can not only format, you can do a quick format, and you can also specify the file system. So you'd say, well, Mike, we can format from the command line. What else can we do to hard drives? Well, I got an idea. Let's partition them. I'm a real graphical kind of guy, so when it comes to doing my partitioning and all that type of stuff, I like to use graphical tools. However, there are times where Windows graphical tools might fall a little bit short, and that's where the DiskPart tool really comes into play. So DiskPart is a complete partitioning tool. It does everything. It creates partitions, it deletes partitions, it shrinks and grows and does mirrors and all kinds of amazing stuff. And there are situations where you might find DiskPart to be the tool you need to take care of a particular problem. And I've got a scenario like that. I just happen to have a little USB thumb drive that's got some fairly messed up Linux partitions on it. Disk management is having a little trouble with it, but DiskPart should be able to take care of the problem. Let's see DiskPart in action. So to get DiskPart going, you just type in DiskPart. And that's going to bring you to the DiskPart interface. So here we are at the base interface. So what I've got to do first of all is see what I've got connected here. Now I need to warn you, this system's got a lot of stuff. We're going to be looking for a very specific 15 gigabyte disk though. So I'm going to type list disk. And there's all kinds of stuff in there, but I'm looking for 15 gigabyte. There it is, disk 6. So I have to go through the process of selecting it. So I'm going to say select disk 6. And now that I've got it selected, I can see what's happening on there. So I'm going to list partition. You have to spell it right. and I can see that it has 2 partitions on there. So I'm going to select one of these. In this case, I'll do partition 0. And now that I've gone through this process, I can actually go ahead and delete this partition. And in this part, it's just type delete. So let's go ahead and list our partitions. And you can see that that partition's gone. I could go through that same process and go ahead and delete the other partition as well. DiskPart is not a tool you turn to very often, but when you need it, it's there for you. If you've got a problem that your graphical tools aren't going to handle, when it comes to partitions, DiskPart could be the tool you need. Great. So now that we've got our fun with formatting and partitioning, let's take it up a little bit more into the I'm having problem with disks. So let's take a look at CheckDisk. One of the oldest but still very useful tools when it comes to checking a bad hard drive is good old CheckDisk. Now, CheckDisk is a command line tool, and its job is to go in and check the individual clusters or blocks, or however you look at hard drives, to verify that they're good. If they're bad, he will update your file table to reflect that. So CheckDisk is kind of like the last part of formatting. Once the drive's formatted, then goes and checks everything. CheckDisk kind of repeats that part. Now, the thing about CheckDisk is that CheckDisk has to work on an unmounted drive. So a lot of times, for those of us who have just one big C drive, that means you're going to have to reboot it to actually make it do its thing. So let's watch CheckDisk in action. We've got a couple of flags that are going to help us out. So first of all, we can just type CheckDisk by itself, and we can run that. Now, it's going to take a moment, but all it's going to do, if I just run CheckDisk and hit enter, is it's going to go through and check everything and see if it's okay. Now, it's not going to actually do any fixes. It's just going to do a quick check. So it's all done, and it says everything looks okay. Now, that's good, but if it found something that had a problem, we'd have to run CheckDisk slightly differently. So what I'm going to do here, and I hit my up arrow key because I like doing that, is I can do a CheckDisk/F. So that actually makes the fix take place. Now, I don't want to run this right now, well, because it takes a while, and it's going to require a reboot of the system itself. Now, that is just on your boot drive. What if you want to do a CheckDisk on another drive? Well, in that case, you don't have to reboot the system, but you have to unmount these other drives. So I can do something like this. So if I wanted to do this on my D drive, I'd do a CheckDisk, D:, go ahead and fix it, and then I'd throw in the /X option. The /X just says, go ahead, immediately unmount it, do whatever you got to do. That works really good as long as it's not on your actual boot drive. CheckDisk is a great tool, and it's one that I turn to time and time again when I think I've got a bad drive. You know what? While we're talking about things that might go bad, I'm thinking we might drop a little guest appearance in with one more command line utility, System File Checker. Now, System File Checker, or better known as SFC, is a tool that goes in and takes a look at critical files of your Windows system, and if it detects a problem, it will actually use a backup copy known as your DLL cache to try to fix them. Let me show you how good old SFC works. If you run System File Checker, just SFC by itself, it kind of brings up a help screen. That always seemed a little strange to me because you would think it would run some kind of defaults, but no, it doesn't. If you actually want System File Checker to do the job it's supposed to do, you type in SFC and then you type in Scan Now. We're going to go ahead and let this guy go for a while because it's going to take a little bit, but once it runs, if it finds any problems, it's going to automatically update any system files that it finds that are missing or bad and takes care of all that for us. We use System File Checker. I use it mainly during Windows boot problems, but it's one of those things you can, when in doubt, run. It'll never hurt anything, and it can always help, even on the rare occasions where you do have a corrupted file. All right, folks, well, we work with some really interesting command line utilities here. Make sure you know what Format does, what DiskPart does, what CheckDisk does, and what System File Checker do. Not only know what they do, but make sure you recognize the important flags, switches that go with each one of those utilities.